Here is a epic moment in my life recently that really showed me why I'm so glad I made the decisions I've made, specifically with being an entrepreneur for myself and also having my wife be on board and then us raising our family and our little kids in that context. Because the whole world right now is designed to basically beat you into submission. Like think about it. From the day you get of age and you go into preschool and you got to learn how to get along with others and show up on time and all that. It's like you get inundated with a system that tells you to just comply. Then when you get older, it's like, yeah, well, you could go this bold route, but you could also go the safe route. And everything in the world is kind of pushing you towards that. Now, for me, it's been a lot of work to be able to undo that programming in myself. Like there's still memories and stuff I have of, seeing teachers as an authority or seeing just anyone outside myself as an authority. So it's kind of dangerous territory we're getting into because again, the system, the world doesn't want you to be your own authority. It wants to be the authority. And it is running in the back of your mind all the time. It's like The Matrix. Like if you haven't rewatched The Matrix recently, especially with subtitles, I 10 out of 10 recommend it. And again, with subtitles, because there's so many points in there that is symbolic of how this works. And when you start to stand up and you start to really question things and you start to look at living your life in a different way, it's like in The Matrix when all the people start looking at Neo, they're like suspicious of him. But that's the way that I've chosen to live my life. And if you're watching my channel and you're into the content that I put out, I'm sure you're the same way. So here's a little moment that was a little gem for me. And I'm going to encourage you to start to seek out these gems in your own life as a nice moment of recognition where you can see you're on the right path. Okay. So the other day, it was fun. So I had my birthday a few days ago and then my parents came over just for dinner and to hang out and then see their grandkids. It's hilarious because now my son, my older son, is 2.5, and that kid does not shut up. It's awesome. He talks and talks, and if I say anything, if I'm talking to my wife, we have guests over, and I'm just talking, he will kind of interrupt. He's not doing it to try and interrupt. He just wants to be part of the conversation, so he'll just talk and talk and talk. He's still working on putting all of his words together, but it's phenomenal to see all the work we've done with using TechnoTutor with him, with being so intentional with our parenting and, reading so many books to him is like that kid's got vocabulary and he's got confidence because we don't suppress him. So here's the exact moment. Okay. I'm holding him up and, I'm just carrying him around and, we're listening to a little music. We're waiting for dinner to get ready. And, my mom and then Jessica, my wife, were in the kitchen with, just cooking and, we're just kind of catching up on life. And Aristotle, my son, just straight up starts shouting. He's like, "Stop talking." So funny. He's just like, "Stop talking. I don't want you to talk. Like, I want to talk." And initially, like he had tried to get my attention, but then he was raising his voice. And he was right next to me. I was just in the zone, chatting with our guests. And in that moment, it was so funny because he didn't mean it maliciously at all. He was just like, "I want to talk." And so I gave him my full attention. We all looked at him. We're like, "Okay, cool. What do you want to talk about?" So we included him in the conversation. And I was looking at my parents and they were just laughing because they know that we educate our kids differently. They know that we are much more intentional and not going to suppress our kids. I'm not going to be the kind of dad who's like, "No, the adults are talking, you go play with your toys." I'm not going to do that for him. Because when I was a kid, I wouldn't have wanted that done for me. I'm thankful my parents were pretty open-minded to me. Like I was a loud, rambunctious kid and I liked to be the center of attention and entertain people and all that. But as I went through school and as I went through my life, it's like that gets beat out of you. I remember in 3rd grade, I got my report card sent home and it was basically like, I got like an F in my ability to pay attention in class. Because I had my 4 best friends in my class with me. All I wanted to do was talk with them and hang out and then get to recess or gym. That was all I wanted to do. And so when I had to fit into this system, and a lot of young boys especially really struggle with this, and then you get put on medication or, get declared as you have ADD or something, when in reality, you just don't want to be sitting in a classroom under fluorescent lights, listening to some teacher about something you don't care about. Because I didn't really have the vocabulary, but, especially by third grade, your brain's already pretty set. So I was like, screw this, I don't want to do this. Now, little did I know, those were the moments within me where I started to then compromise. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get a bad grade. I want to, I don't want this on my permanent record. I want to make my parents happy. So I just started to acquiesce. I started to give in. And unfortunately, that then stuck with me for a while till I started to work through my own inner programming. And as I've changed that, I've become able to express myself fully and get my point across and do what I want to do, within principle. I'm not here to just be like, yep, I want to just talk all the time, or I want to just, have my life on my terms. I'm not about that. I want to figure out how we can create the best reality for all of us. Part of that, though, is me being the best version of myself, me not holding back, me sharing, me expressing, and me also pulling that out of other people too. Like, I'm about fully realizing potential. And so that moment the other day was so fascinating because we were just kind of laughing alongside my son. Like, we weren't laughing at him. It was just like, wow, this is just awesome, because he's a very expressive kid. And he was like, I want your guys' attention. And I saw that. And that was such a profound moment for me, because it was like a little gem of like, wow, I'm able to help raise this kid. I mean, my wife does 90% of it, but at this phase when they're still really young, as my kids get older, though, they'll definitely be working with me, and we'll go to events and we'll be out sharing and, living our purpose. So I know I'm at a current phase where I'm not there with them all day long, but over time, I will be having even more time with them, and they'll be seeing, like, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? What does it take to build community and, like, live out a purpose? And my goal right now is to not suppress them. Kids have this natural desire to just express themselves. It's just because they're alive. They're full of energy. They're full of excitement. They're full of wonder and curiosity, and it's amazing. But our responsibility as parents is really twofold. One is to not crush that in them, whether it be through just kind of blindly putting them in school or letting someone else babysit our kids. It's like being as intentional as you can. And I realize not every parent wants to homeschool or is ready to homeschool, and that's fine. And we don't even technically homeschool, because I don't believe in the word school. Think about, what is a school? It's like a school of fish. Just fall in line, follow the rest of the people. It's like, I don't want my son following. I want him being able to direct himself and work together as an equal. This really hasn't been done before. And so we're walking the cutting edge of this. So part one is to not suppress your kid. And the other part is to build the environment, the internal environment and external environment for your kid as well. So that way they're able to really have the words and the understanding, what I call vocabulary, to be able to express themselves and really develop their interests. Like now my son, I mean, ever since he's been young, he's been pretty into animals, because we live out, a little bit more in the country. Our neighbors have goats and horses and cows, and he's like really interested in, like, he wants to ride horses now. And I don't know, I have to research on at what age can kids do that and everything, but it's like, okay, cool. He's learning what he wants to do, and then we're building his vocabulary with that. We're not just reading books. It's like systematically, my wife is going, basically sitting with him, doing this learning program we have, and now this kid's ability to recognize words and use those words is phenomenal. But the other big part is creating the environment for my kids. So for example, pretty much every weekend we have someone coming over from our community who's either, at some level they're aligned with the same purpose that we have, right? They want to see us create the best community we can locally. They're also into, changing how we think about education, taking self-development on, like, seriously, not just wanting to hype yourself up, but actually really working through your own internal patterns. So my kids are seeing that. Like, the old thing of, oh, if you homeschool your kids, how are they going to socialize? Like, today we're going to an event, and I'm going to have, 6 people there that my son knows and is friends with, and there's other kids. And we'll be at an event with like 100 other people. It's like there's multiple days a week where my kid is out there being social. Plus he's socializing with me and my wife. And now he's learning to do that with his little brother. So the whole idea of socializing is just this bullshit idea that gets put on people of like, oh, you got to put your kid in school then. You got to have them be like all their peers. But what if the peers are addicted to TikTok? Or they start explaining stuff to your kid and then you're not there to help support that understanding? Now, I realize there's context here, and I realize at a certain age, yeah, my son will be in environments on his own. But I have these golden years right now where I can really support him to understand the world really effectively and not have moments of confusion. Because for a kid, a moment of confusion will actually dumb them down. It's fascinating when you look at when a kid doesn't understand something. It's basically that kid has, it's like the same part of the brain that lights up where a kid would experience a trauma. And so you think about it, you know, if you're not there or you're just putting your kid in front of YouTube Kids or whatever they call it, or Netflix Kids and that, and there's like weird stuff on there. Like, dude, the other day I was reading this book. So I'll go to these like there are these mini libraries that people will have in their yards, and they'll just, people drop off books, people pick up books, whatever. So there's a way to, get kids books because, I don't want to, be spending $100 a month on books. But there's, so I'll go there and I'll skim through the books and, I'll pick up 2 or 3, bring them home. And if they're cool, we'll keep them. And if not, we'll drop them off out in the library. And I bet they're in cities near you too. So I would recommend doing that, especially if you have kids or just, down the road if you have kids. But there's one, it's this character, Peppa the Pig, which it must be on Disney or something. I'd heard of Peppa before, but I've never actually read the book. But here's a classic example of how a parent will unintentionally, I use this word in the nicest way possible, but it's like you're going to kind of dumb down your kid. Because, for example, in this book, they're like, okay, Peppa is with her friend or whatever, and now they are sharing these toys. But one of the kids comes in and then takes the toy, and now Peppa's crying, and then the other kid is crying, and then they steal it back, and then eventually, after all this turmoil and drama, they finally figure out that they can go on the seesaw, and then now their day's great. But what are you teaching your kid in that? Like, think about, what is that kid actually learning? Oh, if someone steals my toy, I should cry. Like, crying is a natural response to getting my toy stolen. Now, the author, I don't think the author is intentionally being malicious, but the author doesn't realize how programming works. Because the author is probably just like, oh yeah, it's pretty common for a kid to get their toy stolen and then they cry. So I'm going to make this book to help families understand that it's okay for your kid to cry and you'll find a solution. But what they're doing is actually programming the kid to think crying is like an outcome that should happen when your stuff gets stolen. It's like for my son, when we have friends over, we go to another friend's house and they're learning how to share and all that. I'm there, or my wife is there, or one of the parents are there to help facilitate that. So yeah, if some kid comes by and takes the toy and whatever, and then my son's, upset with that, I'm going to talk through that with them. I'm not going to just say, oh yeah, crying's going to solve it. It's like crying's not going to solve it. You learning to communicate is going to solve it. So I know that might seem small, but do you see how this stuff adds up over time? And do you see how you as an adult, like here's a question. What are 2 or 3 moments from your childhood you remember, which is where you were confused or you were upset? All right, I remember one clearly. I won't go that in depth into it, but like if I would go grocery shopping with my mom, she would let me pick a treat. And there's one time I wanted 2 treats and I put 2 in the cart. And she's like, nope, we're only doing 1. And I was like, I want 2. And I was kind of being like a spoiled brat kid, whatever. But I remember in that moment, I was so frustrated and my mom didn't know any better, but she was just like, no, I said 1, we're doing 1. Do you want 1 or none? And thankfully she was patient with me. But I remember in that moment, I was like, I want 2. And that part wasn't explained to me, or maybe it was, but I just didn't comprehend it. I'm sure my mom tried to explain it to me. But like those are the moments where I'll do a little extra time explaining things to my son, and you can see it. You can see it in his stability. You can see it in how much it takes for him to even get worked up about something. But you can also see it in my son doesn't hold back. And now I look at my son and I look at like the idea of putting him in preschool right now or kindergarten, where I know his style. He's a loud kid. He's a big kid. He's fairly strong, and he can talk, and he wants to do what he wants to do. And I think of putting him in preschool or kindergarten, and like he would be a menace in that class. And I think most kids actually would, especially young boys, because they don't want to do that. Like they like to interact as kids, but they want to do that in like a physical setting or like at the park or with a lot of options of what to do. And unfortunately, a lot of these schools and preschools and all that, they don't really factor that in. But again, the biggest part they're missing is they don't understand vocabulary. And how if these kids don't have the words built in to actually communicate with each other, it's you see where that's going to head, right? It's going to go in the direction of not being clear. But the other option is these kids are able to start communicating as equals. And then you have like my son and my friend Joe and my friends Joe and Kayla, they have a son, Milo. He's like 4 years older than my son, but they're learning how to play together. They're learning how to read together and they're learning how to communicate. And if my son's trying to take his stuff, it's like we're able to interact. And then, vice versa. It's so cool because we're literally raising this generation of kids who are going to grow up to be geniuses, to be confident, to be able to learn anything, and then to ultimately be leaders. Because where this world is headed, as I'm sure you've seen, the world is not in a good spot. Kids are now starting to see AI and ChatGPT. It's like they'll use it to do the thinking for them. Like there's a reason when I make these videos, I'm not reading a script. There's reasons when I make my videos that I'm not using ChatGPT to give me little bullet points of what to talk about. Like I'll use ChatGPT, but it's much more for like taking the transcript and then saying like, okay, what are core ideas in here that I can make future content on? And then I'll just get, some ideas, but then it's like, it's still me coming through. Because by now, don't you start to see it when someone's posting something on Facebook and you're like, dude, that's fucking AI. Like, come on, bro. Versus, like, I want to know you. I want to know what you want to share. I want to know what you're about. Because as cliche as this sounds, is you do have something unique you bring to the world. Your perspective, your programming, your background, like who you are as a being, that coming through is awesome. But I'm interested in pulling out the full potential of that because that's going to be the best thing for you, for me, for my kids, for your kids or your future kids. And then when you can do that, that unlocks something new for all of us. So I know what I'm saying might seem like, I'm sure parts of it, you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And other parts you might be like, dude, I've never heard someone talking about this. Yeah, that's why I make these videos, is because we need more people in the world being aware of what proper intentional parenting looks like and what it looks like to raise really stable, really effective kids and to be a parent as well. Because if you as a parent are also unstable and you're getting triggered a lot and you're not working through that, that's going to get passed on to your kids. And then when they're 18, or even 12, it's like, then you go through that phase where they're really rebellious and they're like not, it's like you lose that bond with them. That's really what it is. You lose the bond. And what I'm here to show and what I'm here to offer is there are ways where you can reestablish that bond if it's already been broken. It's never too late to do something about it, but also that you can now start to plan ahead and start to see these things happening where you're like, ooh, that might actually be a moment where my kid will be confused or where my kid and I are not on the same page and I want to reestablish that bond, okay? So that's what I'm about. If you want to connect further, hit me up on Facebook because I include my link in the description. And then I have so many more videos like this. So like genuinely, hit me up if you're like, this part stuck out from the video or this part, I had a question about that. Or if you're just like, hey, this was cool, keep making it. Send me a message on Facebook though. Don't be shy because I have not just myself making videos, but I have a ton of other families as well and parents that are on the same wavelength, thinking the same way. And the results are phenomenal. Like we have some kids in our community, like there's a 6-year-old girl in our community straight up reading Isaac Asimov books, which are like you try and read I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. It's freaking dense. It's like hard to read. It's like a high school level book. And she's reading it and understands it and she'll talk to you about it. And there's a video of it. I'll send you the video so you can see for yourself because you might be like, what? That's not possible. No, it's possible. She's read the entire Harry Potter series multiple times as well. And she's still a fun little kid. She does her studies, like her actual lessons and studying for about 20 minutes a day with her mom. And now she does a lot of it on her own. And then the rest of the day, she gets to do whatever she wants. Would you rather have that? Like if you were a kid, if you were a 5-year-old, would you rather have that? Or would you rather go to a school that, you might have some random teacher that you don't actually really like? You might have some peers or you might be at the risk of getting bullied. Or you have to form friend groups and cliques and then there's gossip and all that stuff. It's like, especially in today's day and age and looking at we're in 2025 right now, where the world's headed, how quickly the world is changing, how quickly AI is changing the landscape. Do you really think that outdated system is going to cut it? Or do you see how even if you're 10% more intentional, how that can have a really cool effect for yourself and for your kids, okay? So if you want to connect on that, or even my wife is open to connect as well. I like we see parenting in a very unique way, but it's not that complicated to do, and I'd be more than happy to elaborate on that with you. All right, so hit me up and we'll connect.